Hey guys, what's going on? It's August the 4th, 2025 at Shane's World News Views podcast. I did not get to do an episode last week, so this episode right here will be covering really the majority of last week's news. I will do another one this week, like normal. So let's just start off with Elon Musk. So with all the shit that's been going around with, are him and Trump still having a beef, and are they still not getting along? Elon did donate $15 million towards President Trump, so that's saying right there that Elon still has Trump's back. There's all kinds of little small things that are probably going into this. Probably, he just wants his business to do better. He wants Tesla to do better. So, probably distances himself a little bit in the public eye from President Trump. Like there's, some kind of a rift that's still going on from the big beautiful bill and all this other stuff. But at the end of the day, that right there proves that Musk and Trump are still together. So that's great news. I'll go from there. We'll start talking about the wars that are going on. Israel and Iran, still nothing totally settled. Iran, they still have hostages there. Then, they're just not cooperating. There's no, peace agreement yet. So hopefully that could get fixed, but we'll see what happens. As far as Russia and the Ukraine go, I know President Trump had put an updated date as far as August the 8th that he wanted things to start getting, fixed with Russia and Ukraine. But I don't know if that's gonna, totally happen. Probably not. There's also Dmitry Medvedev, the former president of Russia. He's kind of coming out and saying, he's coming out with little threats. The United States, they need to, basically stop, issuing these warnings and all this stuff that it could cause war, blah, blah, blah. Trump, he came back and he said, Medvedev, he needs to really watch his mouth. He said in retaliation to his comments, there are 2 nuclear submarines that were deployed and are capable of striking Russia if need be. So Trump is not, taking even though Medvedev is not the current president, obviously Putin is, he's not taking what Medvedev says lightly. No, total threat, like it's going to happen, like Russia's going to come at the United States, but kind of just putting it out there, little things, that it could happen. And, so look, I think President Trump and Putin have a great relationship. I really do. I've always said that I think that there's more to this, Russia invading the Ukraine, than just Russia simply wanting to take over the Ukraine. Like, I think it's a lot to do with the Ukraine. Their government is poisoned. It's a Nazi brigade, a Nazi regime of scum and trash and money laundering. Zelensky, money launderer. So that will all be proven. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully, we don't want war, so we'll see what happens. On to the next. Trump, when he was in Scotland, which was last week, he was on the golf courses and he came out with an armored Trump Force One. It's a golf cart that's armored. So he showed that in Scotland, and I'm sure he'll be driving around that at Mar-a-Lago and in Washington and Bedminster, wherever he's golfing. So I thought that was pretty cool. Also, George Santos, the former Republican congressman from New York, he had begun serving a 7-year prison sentence for fraud. So unfortunately, I thought Santos, seems like a pretty good guy, but he's not the only one. I think he's the only one of the only ones so far that's, paying the price, unfortunately, for making some errors. I think there's going to be a lot more, but, look, if you commit fraud, if you commit crime, you sign up for these positions, and the Constitution says you can't do certain things, and you can, and unfortunately, Santos is paying the price. Maybe at some point there'll be some kind of a pardon. I'm not sure. He may serve all 7 years, maybe gets an early release. I don't know. But he basically said there's a lot of this obviously going on in Washington, and we know this. People with brains know this, but it needs to be uncovered, and people need to be held accountable, plain and simple. I say it all the time. Next, big thing in Scotland also last week between Trump and the European Union settling or coming up with a deal. It's basically, it's going to be big in terms of, where the European Union is going to invest $600 billion over Trump's term. They're going to purchase $750 billion of energy through 2028. And originally there was 15% tariffs issued by both the United States and the European Union. And today, the European Union actually said they're going to put a 6-month halt on any tariff. So right now, it's just the United States issuing a 15% tariff. And this is good for the majority of Europe. I mean, just working still on more trade deals coming forward, but it's going to be beneficial for the United States and for Europe. And President Trump calls it the greatest trade deal of all time, and I totally believe what he says. So yeah, that's a great thing that happened there. Also, there is rumors going around. Chucky Schumer, the scumbag senator of New York, one of them, there's a rumor going out that he's gotten thousands of dollars in donations from Jeffrey Epstein. So take that as you may. We'll see. We'll see if that can be confirmed. But there's all kinds of stuff that says that he was donated thousands of dollars by Jeffrey Epstein. So while they're trying to smear President Trump with Epstein, there's nothing else totally going on with the Epstein case right now. The Epstein files, I should say. But soon you're going to have things come out and more clarity to it. And as far as Russiagate goes, that's just every day you keep seeing more documents released about, Clinton and Obama and Brennan and Comey and all these scumbags, Sleepy Joe, and all these losers that were involved in trying to, say that President Trump won the 2016 election because of Russian interference. And it was just a total ploy to make Trump look horrible. And it's a sad thing, and it's treason, it's crime. Like I said, a lot of people need to pay the price, and hopefully soon that's going to happen. Also, there's a couple of fucked up incidents that happened in the last week plus. There were 11 people stabbed in a Walmart in Michigan. There was no deaths. They did catch and detain Bradford Jameer Gill. That's the scumbag's name that just went irate and stabbed 11 people. So, Bradford James Gill. Sorry, not Jameer. James Gill. So, the guy's a scumbag, plain and simple. I shouldn't have even said his name. And actually, you know what? From now on, I'm not saying the names of these people that do these fucking ludicrous things, because all I'm doing is giving them publicity. So I will tell things like this that happen, but I'm not going to say the idiots, the psychos' names that actually perform these acts. I'm going to give another one as we're talking about it. In Cincinnati, there was a Jazz Fest event. There was an attack where a couple was beaten. I believe 5 were charged. I believe 4 have been arrested. This was on camera. This was just idiots going and attacking a man and a woman. Woman got punched in the face from a man. They're saying that this was a racial thing. I don't know. I mean, look, whatever it was, it's not right. And to just attack people for no reason, and look, it just can't happen. And these things happen all the time, and it's fucked up. So we'll see what happens with that. There was, let's see, a judge that is trying to block President Trump from defunding Planned Parenthood. This is another one of these clown judges that comes and, they're doing this for political purposes, and they're trying to stop the Trump administration from going forward with many things. Well, a lot of it is defunding certain businesses, certain companies, or firing people that are not needed in certain positions. And they're just, these judges are not listening to what the Supreme Court said weeks ago, and said that they should not be doing this. They should not be interfering with President Trump and the Trump administration's business. So, look, fortunately, the Supreme Court knows what President Trump is doing is correct overall. Of course, you're going to always have some corrupted judges there also that don't agree. But at the end of the day, hopefully these corrupted judges will be, terminated from their positions. Hopefully they won't be judges anymore, because they shouldn't be. It's fucking stupid. Them trying to block President Trump from, doing the right thing, and, trying to block his agenda and trying to slow things down, but it's not going to work. On to the next. Another stupid incident. Shooting incident in New York City, where a man killed himself and he killed 4 others, and one was a cop. This was in an office building. It's attributed to this man, supposedly. I think he wrote a note, and I think he said he has CTE. In this office building were NFL offices, and supposedly he was going to try to confront people with, in those NFL, that work for the NFL in those offices. I don't know if any of the ones that were shot, I don't think they were, associated with the NFL, but that's more what he was looking for. And I guess he's got a beef with the NFL, and, the way that they're something, because there is CTE that comes out, unfortunately, out of a lot of players that play in the NFL, brain damage, from hits. It's a physical sport, so I don't know. This guy took a beef with it, purchased a gun, went there, unfortunately, 4 dead, and he killed himself. I'm not even going to name this guy, because I just said I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not naming these people. Even though this guy's dead, I don't want to give him any publicity, so he could go fuck himself. So another horrible incident. Guys, as I do these news stories, I'm kind of going in order by the way it was reported, say for that week. So some of the stuff might be going from political back and forth, to more, these kind of crazy things, murders or stuff like that. And of course, I'm not going to report on every single one of these crazy events, but the ones I feel like that need to be noted, I will. Also, so that's the order they're in, kind of like by the day. So that's why it might be mixed up a little bit in terms of political back to, these kind of stories, stabbings, shootings, that kind of stuff. The Senate confirmed Emil Bove. He will be lifetime in the appeals court, an appeals court judge. It was voted 50-49. Of course, the Dems are crying about that, but he's a Trump guy, so good for Emil Bove. Also, another corrupted judge, Boasberg. There's misconduct by being accused by the Justice Department on Boasberg, trying to influence Chief Justice Roberts and other federal judges. So, I mean, this is another one of these idiot judges that came out, tried to block President Trump from deporting, and, he's another corrupted judge. He needs to be investigated, needs to be stripped of his position. He's not doing his job correctly. So, hopefully they do that. Also, there was a 50% tariff placed on Brazil, sanctions on the judge overseeing former President Jair Bolsonaro's case. The way that they're handling it, Trump administration doesn't like it. So a 50% tariff was placed on Brazil for that, and we'll see what happens going forward. Kamala Harris, trash. She's not running for California governor. California, you're lucky. She's a loser. She knows she would have no chance of winning a real election, just like with the president. When she tried to go against Trump and she got demolished, she's not going to waste her time running for California governor, because she knows it's not going to happen. So, fuck her. On to the next. Kash Patel. He said there's thousands of Russian hoax documents found in burn bags. So, like, the FBI, they've been finding these burn bags where these things are just stashed away. They're like hidden, And, again, these documentations just, with all this corruption, and a lot of people are going to pay the price for that. So that's a good thing. And yeah, I remember Dan Bongino also said that, just give it a little bit of time. We're gathering all this information and accountability will come. So I trust it. I do. I trust that. Also, Brown University, they came to a $50 million deal with the Trump administration over all the bullshit that was going on there, all the woke shit that was going on there, all the pro-Hamas, anti-Israel shit that was going on their campus, along with a few other colleges. So they want to restore their funding. They want the Trump administration to restore their funding. Therefore, they came to a $50 million deal with the Trump administration that they will pay. And that's a great thing. So, these schools, they need to be held accountable. You know what I'm saying? Like, if they want to perform all this woke shit, they, it's not going to end good for them, So at the end of the day, a few of these universities have had to pay a lot of money, and, that's what you get. You do stupid shit, you pay the price. Also, Pete Hegseth, he said, he requested, he did meet with President Trump, and President Trump agreed that all top nominated generals in the military must meet with President Trump before being hired. So, yeah, I mean, all this woke stuff has carried over to everything in the military, unfortunately, also. And you have corrupted judges. It gets political in the military also. And, this is why this is happening. So I think that's a great thing. And good for Pete Hegseth for requesting it, and good for President Trump to agreeing on it. Also, there was a trade deal with South Korea. And let's see, there was 15% on all South Korean goods and a tariff, and $350 billion in investments that South Korea said that they will make as far as investing in the United States of America. So that's another great thing. Also, there were 17 drug-making manufacturers that President Trump said they need to cut prices within 60 days. So the whole United States population should be happy about that. Like, he wants your drugs to be cut. So I mean, that's a great thing, right? You're going to save money. So and the Dems, not all of them, but some of them will still come out and bitch and moan about it in some way, I'm sure. But that's a great thing. Also, I should have included this when I was talking about the wars in Russia, but it kind of doesn't have to do with the war. So with Ukraine, it doesn't. So this is something separate. President Trump, he released a statement last week where he said India and Russia exactly said they could take their dead economies down together. And he put 25% tariffs on India imports. And India and Russia, I guess they have like deals going on and stuff. And Trump's like basically like he doesn't give a fuck. So that's the comment that he made. And I agree with President Trump. Also, another unfortunate incident. This was in Arkansas last week. And like I said, I'm not naming the scumbag. He was a teacher. He stabbed, unfortunately, a married couple, Clinton and Kristen Brink. They were on a trail. They were hiking in Arkansas, stabbed them, killed them. Fortunately, their kids got away. Their two kids. It's unfortunate that those kids are going to be without their parents. So they did catch this scumbag at a barber shop. So, hopefully he'll pay a very heavy price, and he did admit to the stabbings. Also, SpaceX, they launched last week a 6-month mission into the International Space Station. So that's always a cool thing. I always think that's a cool thing, seeing, them go up into outer space. So, televised and all. So I think that's cool. That's awesome. Also, the Smithsonian, this is a big deal. They removed President Trump from their impeachment exhibit. So the two bullshit impeachments where he was impeached for nothing in the past, those are removed from the exhibit. Like, they know that these were bullshit impeachments. Basically things he should have never been impeached for. more smearing, more bullshit. So good for the Smithsonian. I think they labeled it as temporary, but I'm sure it's going to be for good. So, also, President Trump last week, he signed an executive order for the presidential fitness test to occur. It's going to take place in schools. We're going to have, the kids get back into, making sure that they're, physically getting out there, being active, getting in better shape. He's got athletes backing this. He's got DeChambeau, the golfer. He's got Triple H from WWE wrestling. He's got Lawrence Taylor, ex-football player. He's got there's several names. I think even Mariano Rivera's got something to do with this. The great Yankee closer, Hall of Fame closer. So that's a great thing. Get the kids in shape. Get them out exercising. Get their moods better. Get their motivation better, and that will do them better in life. Getting in better shape, because there's a lot of young kids that are just in piss poor physical shape. They don't eat well. They always feel like shit because they're eating too much sugar. They're eating too much junk food, and it's better to start. I always say enjoy junk food, and I have it a few times a week. I have junk meals, but I don't do it every single day. I don't do it every single meal. I moderate. So it's all about moderation, and I think that's a good thing. And exercise is obviously very important. So that's good for President Trump. There was a riff a little bit with President Trump and Senator Hawley from Missouri last week, where he helped the Dems. It was a vote that advanced congressional stock trading ban. It was 8-7, and Hawley was the deciding vote, I believe. And at the end of the day, Trump said he's against stock trading within the Congress. But I don't know if it was more of a Democrat thing, which I think that's good if they voted for this, whichever ones. I didn't actually research, but I think that's a great thing. I don't think there should be any personal gain when you're in these positions, for your own pockets, even if it's legalized in this sense. But this is banning stock trading, so that's a great thing. So nobody should be making personal extra money in their pockets doing trading deals and all this other shit. And look, you're there to work for the people. You work on that salary, and that's it. And if you do illegal things, definitely you got to pay the price. So anyway, Hawley said him and Trump talked about it. They're good, but there was a little bit of a riff at first. Maybe Trump just didn't like seeing him help any Democrats. But at the end of the day, Trump said, yeah, okay, but I'm not for congressional stock trading anyway, so it's okay. So I don't know. Well, it's good that they got their little beef squared away. And Trump also, he fired Erica McIntarfer. Man, what a name. From the Commissioner Bureau of Labor Statistics. And it was in result, mainly because there's a major slowdown of hiring in recent months, hiring in general. So Trump doesn't like that. So any people President Trump is firing, he's firing for a reason. So I got his back, like always. Also, any public official is facing 10 years of prison time if they interfere with ICE operations in the state of Louisiana. And I think that this should be in all states. There should be penalties. You can't keep coming in front of these ICE agents that are doing their jobs trying to detain illegals, that are not supposed to be in our country. Get them the fuck out. If they're not legal, get them out and have them come back here legally. A lot of bad people are coming, over illegally and killing people and, bringing drugs in and all kinds of bad shit. So, don't interfere with ICE operations, So Louisiana, they got it down pat. So, and hopefully, all the other states follow. So that's it for world news for this week. I'll go on to a little bit of sports. Really nothing in basketball. I only really try to stick with the four major sports. Nothing in hockey that I have to report. Football, training camps are going on. Nothing really to report. Baseball, Yankees playing like complete ass. 4.5 games out of the American League East lead. They're ahead in the wild card, I believe, by 2 games over the Texas Rangers. And for that would be for the final wild card spot. And I believe they still have the second wild card spot. They're behind Boston now, who has the first wild card spot, and Seattle would have the third wild card spot. And the Yankees went and they added 7 players over the last 2 weeks. They brought in Ryan McMahon. They brought in Jake Bird. They brought in Jose Caballero. They brought in Camilo Doval. They brought in David Bednar. They brought in, trying to think, I probably left a name out. Anyway, that they brought these guys in, and of course, the first game against the Marlins, where they've got the lead 6-0, then it's cut to 6-4, then they go up 9-4, then the Marlins come back and take a 10-9 lead, then the Yankees come back and take a 12-10 lead, and then the Yankees lose 13-12 in the bottom of the ninth. That was maybe like the worst regular season Yankee loss ever, and it was horrible. And attributing to it were the 4 of those players we brought in the day before. Bednar, Doval, Bird, Caballero, they all contributed in losing to that game. So it's unheard of. And then the Yankees get swept against the Marlins, who are now 500 because they swept the Yankees. It's embarrassing. There's 50 games left on the dot. The Yankees need to get back. They need to get their shit in check. Aaron Judge is coming back, I think, tomorrow against the Rangers. He's been on the 10-day IL. That's their best player. Got to get the shit going. That's all I really got to say about it. It's pathetic. So that's it for this week's edition of Shane's World News Views podcast. I'll be back next week, I will be back at the end of this week with this week's edition. I'll talk to you then. Bye.